My name is Mark Moyer. Welcome to the Win Again Clubroom. I am super fired up, excited, and all those other words to have Hockey Hall of Famer Jeremy Roenick in the clubroom. But before we get rolling with that, just a reminder that what we're trying to do in here is elevate each other. It's not a place to come sell your stuff. Instead, it's a place to ask others how you can help them with their business, their career, their whatever. And by nature, you will benefit from that. I'm going to bring Jeremy in a second. I'm going to bring him in while I do a quick intro. Some of it might be accurate. We'll see. But Jeremy, come on in. I'm going to give you the little cue right there. Okay. Anyway, just a few words about Jeremy before we get rolling. He is an American born in Boston. He's raised in the Northeast, started playing hockey at the age of 4, and played for a team called the New Jersey Rockets while he was living in Virginia. So what he was doing was actually commuting, every weekend. So this is when he was in his teens. Played at Thayer Academy, and he played with Tony Amonte, who he ended up playing with in real life later on, which is pretty cool. Drafted 8th overall. Hey, Jeremy. Drafted 8th overall by the Blackhawks. Back actually it was a long time ago.
Long time ago.
Yeah, I didn't want to say that, but anyways, played the World Juniors and had an incredible line with Madonna and Leclerc, and my wife has a huge crush, or did have a crush on Mike Madonna, but I guess everybody did. She didn't really look at you. I'm sorry. Anyways,
I had one too. I had one too. Don't worry. And Mike Madonna.
All right, good. How'd that turn out?
He's pretty shy.
Anyway, his debut was against my New York Rangers back in '88. October 6th was the day. But anyway, he played with the Blackhawks until 1996. Was traded over to Phoenix, where he said, "Holy shit, this is beautiful weather down here. Maybe I'll stay here the rest of my life." Which I think he's kind of on the way with that. Was traded again back in 2001, or signed a big contract with the Flyers for $8.5 trillion. He was pretty excited about that. But back in 2004, I think it was Mironov, and had a nice little slap shot that took out Jeremy's jaw and stuff. That was a little bit of a painful experience, just guessing. Just easy. Was traded to the Kings, went back to Phoenix, then over to San Jose, retired after a very long career, and retired back in 2009. Since that time, he's been involved with a lot of different things, including TV and the media, starting companies, working for companies, married with a couple of kids, and he's currently, I don't know, I think he's in Scottsdale. He lives in Scottsdale, but he's
San Diego. San
Diego-ish, Scottsdale. When did you leave Scottsdale?
During 2020, during COVID, when it was 120 degrees in the middle of the summer, and they didn't let us do anything. I was out there.
And they did let you do stuff in San Diego?
It was a lot more open in San Diego. Plus, they had the water, the beach. It was definitely a better place to spend COVID rather than being locked up inside in a house in 120 degree heat.
As long as you promise you weren't wearing your mask in a house.
I don't wear a mask ever.
That's a spirit. Okay, got it. We can talk about that all day too. Yeah.
Dumbest thing ever. That's okay.
I'm in New York City. Talk to me about how dumb that was. We'll talk all day long about that. But I guess what I want to sort of start in with is just a couple things about your playing career, because it was obviously a very long one. But a couple of easy questions. But what was the point? And I don't know if you remember this or not, but was there a point or a day where you said, "Wait a minute, I actually think I'm NHL caliber. I can play"?
No, there wasn't. Not even after I got drafted 8th overall. Still the question, because obviously it is such a big jump. I got drafted out of my junior year of high school and ended up leaving for Chicago that same summer. So at 18 years old, 160 pounds soaking wet, going to Chicago, I didn't know what to expect. Obviously, the talent you think is there, but you're going from high school to the pro level. I mean, that is a massive jump. And I questioned it even more when I walked into the Chicago Blackhawks locker room and saw Al Secord naked, and I literally almost had a heart attack. Um, it was the most intimidating thing, probably intimidating point in my life at that point. I've never seen a grown man naked look like that with muscles and scary, no teeth, receding hairline, scars all over his face. It was not a fun situation to be in when you know you have to try to battle to make a hockey team, to try to start a career, and knowing that you're playing against people that literally look like they should be in prison, not playing a game. So that made me even question it even more. So it became more of my my total um, desire to just to compete and what I had to do in order to have that,
But
have
then
that
they're in.
opportunity.
But there's got to be young guys now that walked into the locker room, saw you naked, going like, "Oh God," I mean,
No,
I'm
I got
sure.
dressed. No, I got dressed. I got changed in the bathroom stall. Yeah, no, I seriously. One of the trainers thought I was the stick boy for the day, because they have different stick boys for the day during training camp. That come in and do stuff.
Yeah,
They thought
yeah.
they thought I was one of those, and just so happened that I was I was the number one draft pick that was coming in that they're all waiting for.
That's great. Well, I'm glad they let you in. That could have been uncomfortable if they didn't. So, you played with, did you ever try to figure out, because I know sometimes they do this sort of thing where they figure out how many people you played with over the years. Is there even a guess? A couple, I don't know, 300? I don't even know.
I don't even know. I played 21 years, right?
Yeah.
And it's just, I wouldn't even know. It's like, even now people say they were on my team, or, do you remember
Oh,
this
yeah.
guy? And I'm like, no, I have no clue who you're talking about. And they were on the team. I mean, that's just whether they're there for a cup of coffee, where they were getting called up, they were going
Yeah.
back and forth. There was just so many different people that you pass by.
So I'm sure you get asked this once or twice, but I'll throw a little spin on it. Out of the guys that you played against, who'd you feel? Was there anybody that truly intimidated you, or not necessarily? Or
I mean, obviously the bigger, tougher guys, like the Bob Proberts and the Joey Koshers and those guys, the Browns, the Domies, the guys that can literally tear your face off and pound you into oblivion. Luckily I didn't have to deal with them too often, but I did fight Probert twice, which was like a death wish, scared to death. I would never fight Ty Domi. Fought Craig Berube. I caught Martin McSorley. I fought a lot of tough guys because I was one of those guys that ran around and hit really hard because Mike Keenan made me do it. He pretty much threatened my whole NHL career, over me going out and hitting people or not. So I decided to become a human torpedo. And when you do that, when you do hit people hard, and sometimes they're dangerously hard, the guys are going to come after you. And it's all about, standing up for yourself and being accountable. And if you're going to play a certain way and someone comes and challenges you, it's up to you to answer the bell. And I was never afraid to answer that bell. I was never afraid to get my ass kicked. It's always, for me, it's showing up, being accountable. And I never wanted to be that guy that had the return of being a shit disturber and doing a bunch of things and then
sparing it.
then hiding and turtling. I never wanted to be that guy. I wanted to have the respect of the players that I played against, not just my own teammates.
That's great. Now, do you, it's funny. I think sometimes fans want to know and are curious when they see a fight happening. They often wonder, well, do these guys actually practice that, or do they just go out there throwing haymakers? Was there ever a point where someone said to you, "Here's how you should"?
Yeah, I've heard of guys taking boxing lessons off the ice, right? Just, whether they're hitting heavy bags or, speed bags, or just taking grappling lessons or stuff like that off ice. But we never sit on the ice and literally practice fighting on the ice. It's just survival of the fittest. Just grab a hold and start throwing and hope you don't get hit with a bomb. That's pretty much it.
Well, I think nowadays with the helmets on and so forth, I'm sure it's a little bit more challenging to whether it's land something that, I mean, I'm always worried that someone's going to mess up their hands than anything else. It just seems,
When you're playing in a sport like that where you have the
yeah,
anger and the intensity that is riled up, the last thing you're thinking about is the safety of your hands. Let me tell me.
no,
That's the
I'm worried.
last thing.
You're not worried about it, but I think I'm sure someone else is worried about you messing up, breaking a hand and that kind of thing. But no, you're right. The adrenaline
Well,
is
Keenan never
flying.
wanted me to fight. All my coaches never wanted me to fight. I mean, that's, because obviously you're the star of the team. You're
Yeah.
the majority of the points that happen in the course of a year. Missing five to 10 to 15 games can be detrimental to a team. So staying out of fights was always asked of me, but wasn't always obliged by.
Well, like you said, it's tough. I mean, look, I play in a men's league. It's nothing like it, but it's still when, even as at this age, the adrenaline rush is there and it's,
Well, you're better than I am because I won't go near a men's leagues game. You can't get me to go near the ice anymore unless it's for charity or to teach kids. Tell you that's no more hockey for me.
yeah, well, I mean, I'm sure it's a little easier to swing a golf club and, probably a little more civil, maybe. I don't know.
Sometimes,
I haven't
sometimes,
golfed with you. I don't know.
sometimes. I have.
Yeah.
There have been many a contact golf rounds in my lifetime.
That I pay to see a little body check across the third green or whatever it is. No
Yeah,
comment.
that's. Yeah. I've. Let's just say I've had. Let's just say I've had letters in my locker of um, attitudes, things that I did, warnings. We can leave it at that. We can leave it at that.
A little hole. Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
Now, so when you were going through, I mean, look, you played so long that was there ever? I mean, before you retired for the 3 or 4 or 5 years preceding it, was there ever a point where you thought, gee, maybe this is the end, or did you keep on, lacing them up and saying,
No,
I'm going out there, I'm going out there?
I think like for everybody, playing sports was my life. Whether it was playing golf, playing football, playing baseball, playing soccer, or playing hockey, it was just that was where my happy place was, right? So to me, it wasn't a job. It was something that I just loved to do, and I did it all the time. It was just part of my life. So I never really thought about it. But when the scouts start coming around when you're in high school, Tony Amonte and I in the same line at Thayer Academy,
Yeah, yeah.
and the stands are filled with people up there with clipboards, scouts from colleges and pros. You start to understand and see where you're headed to, what possibilities that there are. Um, but then again, in the '80s, the National Hockey League didn't pick U.S. hockey kids,
Yeah,
especially in the
right.
first round. Very, very rare, especially ones that are 160 pounds. So for me, it was something I wanted to do, but I never thought about it. I just loved to play. And, when you love to play and you put your passion behind something, you practice, it becomes your life. Um, a lot of times, like for myself, I just got better and better and better. And just the natural progression got me to be where, I was good enough to play. Then I had to fix and make sure that I was there mentally and understand mentally, because it was definitely it's a mind fuck for sure, trying to get there and say they always say getting there is the easy part. The hard part is staying.
Staying there. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure a lot of people on this call can understand. Everybody that's been associated with a pro team or been in pro sports. A lot of people trying to grab your spot. A lot of people trying to knock you off that high horse, trying to knock you off your game. So that becomes very, very difficult to maintain and continue to get better.
Was there a point towards I mean, because look, one thing I used to say, people would complain to me about, let's say Eli Manning, and they'd say like, "Oh, Eli sucks," blah blah blah. I'm like, "No, he doesn't suck." And they say, "Well, they should draft another quarterback." I said, "Well, if he's the 14th best NFL quarterback, I'm still okay with that. Like, he doesn't need to be the top one or two." And I think the same thing can be said about a hockey player. As long as the guy trying to take your spot is, as long as you're not 23rd or 20th or something in the on the team, you can keep on playing. But was there? I guess my question is, when you're getting close to retirement, the year or two before, was there any? I mean, what was the point that did trigger that said, okay, I've played 21 years, it's time?
Well, number one, you're old and your body doesn't work so much anymore. All of a sudden, those stick handling moves and those things that you used to do very easily and instinctively became harder to pull off. I know I can think it, but my body couldn't do the things that I needed to do at the speed and level and accuracy that I wanted to. The knees are sore. Putting on the skates became harder. The gaining weight became easier. Players playing against younger players, faster players, became harder. So everything becomes more difficult. But to me, it's when I didn't enjoy going to the rink and getting dressed to go out and practice. Putting on the skates is just, to me, it's a bone chilling, not a fun situation for me. So I knew at that point that, the luster is falling off. Still love being in the locker room, still love traveling with the boys. Actual playing the games was good, but when you don't like going to the rink, getting dressed, going out and practicing, that's when I knew that it's pretty much time.
So tell me about so you retire and then you start watching hockey. I mean, were you just kind of kicking back and saying, oh my God, this is amazing. I can actually just sit on my couch and watch this. Or were you watching it at all? Or did you just kind of distance yourself from the game?
Well, I was going to distance myself from the game right after I retired. My retirement was pretty cool because I was playing in San Jose. And I was going to play one more year. My family wanted me to play one more year. My teammates wanted me to play one more year. But Doug Wilson, who was the GM and one of my best friends in the world, pretty much said, "You know what, JR, you've done everything you can possibly do. You're one concussion away from eating out of a straw the rest of your life. You never know what can happen.
Yeah.
I think you're done." And when you have somebody that you really look up to, that you really trust and love, have the love for you to say you're done and kind of be that decision for you. It was the biggest breath of fresh air that I've ever felt at that moment, because I knew that part of my life was now done. That chapter was over. I didn't have to worry about going to the rink the next day and working out, people yelling at me all the time to get on a bike and stay in shape. I could, I was free to go where I wanted to go. It's kind of a new lease on life. I was just going to, and I said to Doug Wilson, what am I going to do now? And Doug Wilson says, kid, you can do whatever you want. Right. And that kind of hit me that, just to sit back, probably take a year off and then see what happens. But I got an opportunity to go to the Olympics and do television in January of 2010, which is literally only 4 months after I retired. And that happened to turn into a 10-year job for me, doing analyst work on television for the league, and had a blast doing that until 2019. And then now I'm in my own businesses and doing a lot of different things, that building my own companies. And I work for a construction company as their head of business and development and entertainment, the entertainment platform for them. So it keeps me traveling, keeps me doing things, and I'm never at a loss for something to do. And unfortunately, I probably could use some more time to myself. I'm on the road 210 days a year, which,
wow.
Which is a lot, but
Yeah.
they say to sleep when you're dead, right? And I have a long way to go to that, hopefully.
Absolutely. When you, so with a construction company, what's that role mean? Are you sort of taking the clients out kind of a thing? Are you,
yeah. So I never even expected to be in this kind of business, but this national GC company out of San Francisco, who are big Sharks fans, opened up an office in San Diego, and they have an office in Chicago, and they came to me and kind of wined and dined me and convinced me to come work for them. And literally all it is connections, right? Connections into construction, connections into finding opportunities for for building or tenant improvements or finding out who's coming in. It's all the connection, right? Everything's about a relationship, and I have a lot of relationships, and I have the ability to find things and find people very easily. So it became a very easy kind of transition for me. I go out and find out who's building, who's coming in, who needs work in their buildings, and then bring it to the team, and then end up taking out our clients for golf rounds, golf trips, dinners, games. So needless to say, it's a very busy job. It's a very entertaining job. There involves a lot of alcohol and very little sleep. So that's kind of what I do.
Like you said, when you're dead, you can catch up. Now, I want to jump a little bit in different direction to your whiskey company, because this I saw. I mean, I read the interesting story about how it started, but walk me through. I mean, do you normally drink whiskey anyway, and this was a transition into something made sense, or?
Well, being here in San Diego, I was friends with a lot of ex-athletes. David Wells from the Yankees being one of them, introduced me to a guy in San Diego who was starting Screwball peanut butter whiskey. Got together with him. He made promises to bring us on board and all that stuff. But needless to say, he was an asshole and pretty much backed off and reneged on all of the deals that he had promised both of us. So I kind of got that spiteful, I'll get you back sort of mentality. And I've always wanted to be part of a brand. I know it's just, for me, I think it's a cool venture. There's a lot of athletes or celebrities that do have spirits. I wanted to make something that was very unique, very different, and something that was going to challenge Screwball for kind of a best blend taste. So I built a chocolate and a chocolate orange whiskey, and it started in 2020 during the pandemic. So perfect time to start something with a lot of time on your hands. I just didn't realize that it would take 2 years to build the company. Took us 18 months to create the blend that we came up with. We have a chocolate and a chocolate orange. Took us 18 months of feverishly trying to find the right ingredients and the right blend to have the perfect kind of taste that would pretty much capture anybody's attention. And then it took us 2 years to find a company to build a bottle. Now the bottle is a very unique bottle, as you can see right here. It's kind of a packaging marketing phenom in itself right here. So we have a flask is built into every bottle.
That's great.
Which is very cool. So
cool.
we kind of make our whiskey for the outdoorsman. I can't tell you how many of these I have in my ski jackets and my golf bags. The flask comes in very handy. We always want to say, whiskey in the wild, take it, we want you to take it with you. We say sip at the summit, and there's only one way you can sip at the summit, because you don't want to carry the bottle, but you can carry the flask. We actually have, if you can see, we have a little spout.
Oh yeah.
That is created that helps you pour into the flask, and it's an amazing eye catcher, right? So this bottle on the shelf will catch your eye, but when you taste what's inside, it is without doubt one of the most satisfying whiskey experiences you'll ever have. And I'll say, in 2 years, and this is no word of a lie, in 2 years, I've had one person tell me they didn't like it, and I've had about 99% of all women that say they do not like whiskey, they do not drink whiskey, will try this and will be blown away and said, that is awesome.
Nice.
I will
It's
drink
that smooth. Now,
no burn, no burn, no cringe, no burn ever.
Interesting. Well, there you go. Because that's a big thing. It's funny.
So
I'm a member of a club here in New York, and tonight they're actually doing a whiskey tasting.
That's awesome.
And we got to figure out a way to get. I mean, you said you're not in New York.
Not New York yet. We'll be coming into New York probably within the next 3 months. We're in New Hampshire, Massachusetts, Illinois, Montana, and Arizona right now, and planning on Michigan, planning on New York, planning on Pennsylvania and Maine. So And the alcohol, the liquor world is a crazy world, right? It's like every state is its own country in itself with all of its legalities and different
and
rules
I was going to say, and
for
illegalities, and yeah,
yeah,
all,
exactly.
all
So
kinds of.
it's a very slow process, but we are doing extremely well. Whiskeyinthewild.com. We were direct to consumer for pretty much 19 months. And for the last 6 months, we've been breaking in, doing all of our retail trials, and it seems like it never ends. I'm doing whiskey tastings all over the place. Just last week, we sold like 80 cases in Chicago, and I'm
Did
sitting
you
there
really? Wow.
sipping. I'm
Now,
sipping
are you
and
signing the
showing.
bottles and what stuff, or yeah,
Yep,
the whole thing?
yep. I usually sign right here. I sign right over the
Oh,
flask.
nice. Oh,
Yeah,
perfect.
yeah.
Like on a silver
So,
pen or something, or whatever. Silver or gold
um,
pen. I can't see what it is.
yeah, yeah. It'll be a silver pen. Yeah, I'll
Nice.
sign in a silver pen. Yeah. So
Nice.
it becomes a lot of fun.
Now
Yeah.
it's interesting. So a friend of mine just arrived into here, Ed Katz, and he introduced me a couple of years ago to Rick Nielsen. Rick Nielsen's lead guitarist and songwriter for Cheap Trick, and wrote all their songs. And Rick is involved with a vodka called Rockin' Vodka.
Mm.
And the interesting thing is that he doesn't drink anymore, but he's big time supporter of this vodka, and owns some of it. But so next, I'll always see him on social media at bottle signing at wherever it is, and it's interesting that instead of it being like, hey, I'm signing guitars, I'm signing bottles. So
Yeah.
instead of you signing pucks, you're signing bottles. But
Exactly. Exactly.
but
So
that's look, it's got to be exciting to be part of something that you were involved with initially, because it's one thing to jump in halfway through, it's another thing to be part of the inspiration and see it
yeah,
grow.
well, you definitely get a bigger love and appreciation for it and the passion behind it. Um, I didn't really think I would be this excited about a brand. Obviously it's difficult, and I'm not excited about the how hard it is to do. But when you see people's faces when they try it, and the joy and the surprise that they get off it, it makes you know every minute worth it. Every travel, every minute, every painstaking effort, it's worth it. So um, yeah,
You
it's
know,
great.
I have a funny story about the whiskey tasting. I actually had a whiskey tasting event in here during COVID. The founder and owner of Harlem Standard Whiskey had a whiskey tasting here, and he was, we had sent a bunch of people had pre-ordered it, so they had it with them, doing it on virtually like this. And then he was talking about how it was made and sourcing the sweetest corn, and I had no idea there was corn in this stuff. So whatever, and I learned a lot. But then he talks about how to pour, how to sip, how to this and that. And one of the guys just got bombed, like just got bombed. And it was so funny because you saw how these tables are here, Jeremy, where
Yeah.
you can come into someone else's conversation, whatever it is. And I remember there was one table we were having a conversation. It was pretty deep about something, and maybe it was business related. And this guy pops in and he's like, "Yo, what's up?" And he's like just out of his mind. And we were like, "Well, right. Well, that whiskey works." But so maybe we can try doing that at some point in here with your whiskey.
I'm always in. Any bit of help is good. So
Well,
especially in
look,
this business.
and what's funny when you mentioned earlier about how there's none of that, like the cringe or the
Cringe
like
and burn. No cringe and
cringe,
burn.
no cringe and
Yep.
burn. I mean, that's huge, because that's I know that keeps a lot of people away from whiskey. So
Yeah. Yeah.
that's good.
It's always the same look. It's the women will take up, and they're like they get all prepared for
They brace for it.
all braced for it. And it's like, okay, this is good. This is the no burn. Like I'm not like, it's as smooth a whiskey as you will ever have, and I'll put my business behind it.
Nice. I like that. All right. So a
Yep.
couple quick questions out there in the weeds here. Adam Slocum, he said either he saw you play and beat them badly when he was at Milton Academy while you were there.
Yeah, we beat Milton quite handily, pretty much all the time. But they were our arch rival because they were 2 towns over, or 1 town over, really. Good buddy of mine, Marty McGinnis, who I don't know if Adam played with Marty, but great school, Been there many, many times, but yeah, they didn't bode too well against us when we were playing them.
Nice. Well, I think you beat up on most people since yeah, you guys did pretty well. Now, Matt was asking, how did you feel about swingers using you to crush Gretzky?
That was a really cool thing because I didn't really understand the whole concept of what was going on at the time. The games were just becoming very popular. 94 Sega came out, and um, I guess there was a pretty crazy glitch in their system that made me a 99. I don't know if they meant to make me an 89, but they pressed the wrong button, but I became a 99.9 and became the best, probably the best gamer, one of the best gamers of all time. And because of that, I become literally an icon of of gaming. Of the 94 Sega is the number one thing that is said to me in the course of a day, a week, a month. People say I got through college playing Chicago, couldn't beat Chicago. You couldn't stop JR. I scored 10, 15 goals. And to get that attention from Vince Vaughn, who in 96, started his film career with Swingers,
Yeah.
to put me in the movie, to immortalize me in kind of that pop culture aspect. Making Gretzky's head bleed is become, it's become a slogan. It's on t-shirts, and it's not so much me, it's Roenick, he's good. So it became it. I'm more popular for 94 Sega than I am anything else that I did in my lifetime, which is pretty fun, pretty cool.
Well, it's funny because here I went back and forth with a friend of mine, Jonathan, who played hockey up in Montreal, and he basically, I said, I had Jeremy on, hockey Hall of Famer. He goes, I don't know if he should be in the Hall of Fame. He says, not a hater. He was super good in my NHL 94 Sega Genesis. So
see, right there is deserving. Right there is deserving.
Yeah, who cares about the Hockey Hall of Fame? Oh my God. Well, I want to talk about that real quickly. You'd been retired for quite a while. Was there any point where you're saying, yo, I should be in this thing? What's taking so long? Or did you kind of talk to me about that? And then when you got the call?
Well, obviously you got to be, I'm proud of my career. And you see the numbers, you see where you rank, you see where you are, especially as American players, right?
Yeah.
You see some of the people that are going in front of you. And yeah, of course, I was in that boat, thinking that I should have been there a lot earlier. And at times it was getting very frustrating seeing certain players go in that didn't even touch some of the numbers that I did, or at least even represent the league like I did, or have any kind of impact on the game like I did. So yeah, frustration was a lot, but it was more so the people coming up to me, the fans, and their, I think, frustration, and it was constant. So that got me even, I think, probably more frustrated, because the fans kept asking me and asking me, just keeping it on the top of my head. And this is really the first year where I wasn't even thinking about it. I really just kind of stopped wanting, stopped thinking, stopped everything. But I found that when it did happen, the impact it had on me was very profound. I was very happy with the way that it hit me, the way that 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 I the gratitude, right? It's just it was pretty emotional. There's no question about it. But also keeping it in perspective, right? There's a lot of more important things than the Hall of Fame. Your family, your marriage, your kids, doing the right things, being a great person and representing yourself really well. Those things I'm been very, very happy with, and happy in my life. The Hall of Fame is just it's just an ending to a very storybook career and part of my life that once it's done, you know, I probably won't think about it again.
Yes, but I'll also say that there's a lot to be said about, when you yourself know how well you played, and you know all that, but then
Mhm.
finally hearing from your peers and everyone else, that they're acknowledging it is probably why you felt that way. You were finally like, damn, what took them so long to figure this out? But thank God they did. And it was almost like that you can exhale the right way. I don't know. I feel like when you get recognized and you feel that it's genuine.
Signing an HOF 2024 on an autograph is pretty special.
Yeah.
It is very invigorating and it's a gratifying thing, trust me. But again, you got to stay humble, and there's a lot of people that along the way that helped me, and you always got to remember that. But it is the final hurdle for an athlete. It is the ultimate the ultimate celebration and award that I think could be bestowed on you. And I'm very grateful and have a lot of it's humbled me a lot. Let's put it that way.
That's great though. That's good. Now, have you I'm assuming you've been putting some thought into what you're going to say, or not quite yet, or
I'm a speak from the heart type of guy, right? Yeah. I don't want to go up in a situation like that and read off a piece of paper. So I have been thinking about a lot of, I've been taking notes down. I'm sure I will go up there with a little sheet of reminders of what I want to make sure that I hit and where I go. But most of it, I'm going to be speaking right from the heart, which usually comes off better. My issue is I know the emotion is going to be extremely, extremely big, and crying is going to be rampant in my speech.
Rampant. So, all right.
Rampant. Yes.
He's a rampant crier.
Yeah,
okay.
It's rampant. It's going to be rampant. And I'm trying to, one of my buddies gave me the over under of how many words I can get out before the tears come out. What comes out first? And the over under is 2. The over under is 2.
Hi, everybody. What?
Yeah.
Well, yes. maybe you don't even get the first 2 out. I don't know. We'll see. I mean,
well, I did a press conference last week in Chicago to kind of unveil some of the things that I was giving to the Hall of Fame for my display. And this just kind of my first public kind of conversation about the Hall of Fame. And I was getting emotional walking up to the podium before I even said anything in front of 12 reporters. So,
all right,
if that's any indication of anything,
get your tissues out.
And I know what's going to happen is I'm going to walk up, and the first thing I'm going to see is my wife and my 2 children sitting in front of me, and it's really going to be, so
I mean, maybe you need to go up with like the glasses you can't see through and just kind of,
hopefully the lights are very bright up in front, right?
So, exactly. Yes. Tom here, he says he's working with a talented sophomore hockey player at a college back east. Any advice or encouragement for such a player, even though you didn't play in college itself?
A lot of people ask me a lot about that. Like, what's the best encouragement or best advice I can give? For me, it's all about work. There's a work ethic involved. I've seen so many great, talented players that just have a very small give a shit level, and they don't take it seriously enough. They don't put in the time enough. They don't think about the game enough. When you're playing the game that day, that your whole life has got to be about that game. Your visualization of what you go through, living the game inside your brain before you get to the ice. And I would do that from the moment I woke up in the morning. I was thinking about the game, who I'm playing against, who are the defensemen I'm going to be going against, different situations that are going to happen, responsibilities that I have. I actually tried to play the game throughout the day in my head. And prepared visually, prepared mentally. So when I did get to the game, I just went out there and played because I didn't think. It became instinctive. the instinct takes over because you've already seen it. Things have already happened in the game, in your mind, that has happened in the game. And I always say, do things that maybe might be outside your comfort level. We always say, get comfortable being uncomfortable, right?
Yeah.
Do things that maybe somebody else wouldn't do, whether it's, playing physical if you're an offensive guy, playing defense, more defensive sometimes if you're an offensive guy. But I always say every shift you have 45 seconds, right?
Yeah.
And as a college player, you have 45 seconds to a minute. If you go through a 45 seconds or a minute and you don't do something that either catches somebody's eye or benefits to the game, whether it's back check, block a shot, make a big hit, take a hit to make the play. If you go through a shift and don't do anything, you've just wasted 45 seconds to a minute of your playing life. And the more you do that, the more you get recognized. People start seeing when you do stuff consistently, and that really helps towards the team. And as a leader, so as a college kid, it's the work, putting in the work. It is making sure you don't waste any seconds in a game or any shifts in a game, and then living it. You got to live it. It's not a part-time thing. It's a full-time thing. If you want to make it your job, you want to get to the pros, you want to do something great, it's not a part-time job.
Don't take a shift off. That's right. When you were talking a second ago about the visualization, when you were doing that, were you actually doing it with matchups in mind of that other team, your opponent, or not as much, or was it just a stick
it's just
figure?
in general.
Yeah, got it.
It's just in general. Yeah. It's just putting yourself in situations, right? As a positional player, whatever your position is, responsibilities, you see different scenarios that you will be put in, whether it's, in on a forecheck, whether, you're going to get the puck on the boards and, someone's going to be bearing down on you, kind of visualizing all the play. I always used to say the guys that don't look around the ice, or the guys who are mesmerized by the puck or are one-dimensional, we call them the tunnel vision guys.
Yeah.
The people that are the most successful are the people that look at everything else that's going around away from where the puck is, right? Because if you see where everybody is positionally and just by laws of motion and laws of movement, then that puck comes to you, you're going to know where the puck's going to go next. You're going to know where your guy is in order to get that person that puck or move it, right? So it's all visualization, looking at the entire space rather than just where the puck is. So, and that becomes IQ. You start doing that, you start getting smarter, you start seeing the game better, and that IQ allows you to do things even if you're not a great skater. I've seen so many players in the game that were so smart because they knew everything that was going on. Even Wayne Gretzky wasn't the fastest player.
Yeah.
But he was the smartest player because he knew three steps ahead of where everybody else was going, right? He always says, I'm not going to where the puck is. I'm going where the puck is going to be.
That's right.
That anticipation, because he was always a couple steps ahead of what was going to happen. So that's that becomes, Steve Larmer, not a very good skater. Sniped for 400. Luc Robitaille, one of the worst skaters that in league history, scored almost 700 something or six, whatever. Luc Robitaille.
Yeah.
So being smart is sometimes better than being fast.
And you know who the smart guys are on the team. You can tell. It doesn't need to be smart book wise, but they're smart hockey wise.
And but then you got guys like Connor McDavid who are smart while fast. Right?
Yeah, he's a little fast. Speaking of that, and in fact, somebody asked, in your opinion, who's going to end up with the Stanley Cup first, McDavid or Bedard?
Oh, McDavid for sure.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, but by far. And you can't even put Bedard, I don't think, on McDavid's level. Obviously he's 18 years old. I think it's unfair to do that to Bedard. Yeah. He's got a lot to learn, and he's a spectacular, dynamic player that has the ability to really bring Chicago to another level with some tutelage, with some help, with some confidence, with some size. Definitely the help is going to be important. I think the Hawks did a good job of bringing some good quality players in and bringing Maroon in to kind of police the grounds a little bit, make them feel a little bit more comfortable. But Connor McDavid is, to me, the greatest, the most talented player ever on two skates. Now, whether he'll be Wayne Gretzky's numbers or all that, probably not. But if you put Connor McDavid today in the 1980s, he'd have like
4 points a game.
350.
Yeah,
He'd have
exactly.
360.
Yeah.
I mean, you wouldn't be able to stop him. There's nobody who would have been able to stop him.
Well, especially, and the goalies had the pads that covered this much of their, legs and all that stuff.
It's not even that.
Yeah.
The goaltenders are out of shape.
Yeah.
They were out of shape.
They're
A lot of them
smoking
did. A lot of them, like, I swear to God, I don't think I've ever saw an ab on a goaltender until the late 90s, right? Goaltenders wouldn't go down. I mean, they started with Marty Brodeur and Patrick Waugh. They started doing going down doing the butterfly because they got in better shape. In the 80s, the goaltenders didn't want to go down to the ice because they had to pick themselves back up, and that's a lot of work, right? So they would stand up and just do all these kicks and all this room and that, with the small equipment, there are holes galore. I mean, Connor McDavid scored 3 or 4 goals a game.
Blindfolded. Well, it's funny. A couple of years ago against the Rangers in Edmonton, he, went through the entire 5. It's like boop, 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 like past each guy, completely undressed them and scored, roofed it.
He scored 160 points in a generation where every single player can fly like the wind, is strong, can shoot the puck, is agile. Goaltenders are bigger, they're more athletic, and he still makes everybody look ridiculous. And it's very impressive.
Yeah, I kind of feel the NHL is dropping the ball on there's just no marketing about him. I mean, there's nothing going on that.
Yeah, it's hard because he is stuck in Edmonton, right?
Yeah.
Could you imagine him in New York? Could you imagine him in Chicago?
Yeah.
It would be in Boston. It would be a totally different, even in Toronto, it would be a totally different situation for Connor McDavid and the National Hockey League in terms of marketing him. But it
is what it is.
That's where he is.
Ed's asking, at the NHL level, what was the hardest part of the game for you to master?
Consistency. To stay consistent, especially being a top player, you're expected to put up points. You're expected to produce. That's through, obviously, all the rigors of being a star. You're getting a lot more attention. You have guys that are out there trying, giving you more closer coverage, guys wanting to hurt you, all sorts of different things. So keeping that consistency and playing well every day and putting up numbers every day, because when you're making a lot of money, the fans expect you to score. The team expects you to score. And when you don't, everybody hears about it. Right.
For
so
sure.
the pressure and the consistency are the 2 hardest things to have to deal with.
Some of the old time players, especially in baseball, would say, that they always played at their top level every single game because they were sure that there was always somebody seeing them for the first time. And they always wanted to leave that lasting impression.
But that's a special mentality, right? That's people that care. Like, there are some people that never think like that because they just don't give a shit. People that really care, and they care about the wins, they care about the team, they care about their reputation, their image, what people are going to think after they retire. There's some people that really care, right? And I've seen people who just literally don't give a shit, which
it's unbelievable.
It's
unbelievable to me because I'm the guy that I will try everything in my power to beat my kids at stuff still to this day. Like I'm incredibly competitive and I always want to win. And even if it's a meaningless softball game, it doesn't matter. And I'm always blown away at those people that, as you said, don't give a shit. I don't understand that.
That was one of my strengths and has become one of my probably one things that have been hard for me is getting that competition level out of me, because I was always competitive. I always wanted to win. I hated losing more than I liked winning, right?
Yeah.
So if
Yeah.
that was kind of that mentality. Hey, Bud Norris, what's up, buddy? I see you just jumped on. I love you, bud. I love you, bud. I love you, bud. Um, so again, yeah, that because now I get on the golf course, and I think I'm finally starting to control it now, and I don't have this problem anymore. But I mean, I get on the golf course and playing for, $20 here, $30 here, and it wasn't about the money, it was about the
Right.
win.
Right.
And I'd get so angry when I didn't perform well, or I didn't play well, or I didn't win in that. I hated losing. I didn't like losing to somebody. But I'm very, very much different now. I
You
think
reformed. Okay.
yes, I'm definitely more calm. I definitely take golf a different level now, a different way. And um yeah, my expectations aren't as high anymore for certain things.
Mike is asking, what did you think of Warren Zevon's hockey song? Have you heard it when he sang it live in Philly?
I'm not sure I know which one it is, to tell you the truth.
Yeah, I guess me neither. So that's all good. Thanks, Mike, and I'm sure he'll follow up with that. Speaking of golf, a few weeks ago, I had the chance to golf at Trump's Bedminster in Jersey, that
Yes,
course.
one of the best courses in the world.
If you look, you'll be able to find a couple of my Titleists out in the
Yeah,
fescue there and all that stuff. But
yeah, that's definitely you can lose a lot of balls there. That's a course everybody can play, right? You can play it as short as you want, or you can play it as long as you want. But it's just like everything Trump does. He just wants it to be the best. That's pretty much what it is.
now, back to the whiskey for one sec. One of the gentlemen on the call, I don't know if he's still here, Jack. He's also a member of my club here in New York, and he said, and he's on the on the whiskey committee or the booze committee or whatever it is, and he's like, let's have a tasting there with whiskey in the wild. Now, can you actually pour or serve in New York, or what's the rule there? How does that work?
Um, Yeah, you can, and so what we need to do is find a distributor, right? So once we find a distributor, I can bring it and pour it any place that has a liquor license, whether it's restaurant or a bar or obviously an establishment that sells alcohol. They have to have a liquor license in order for me to be able to go out there and be able
Do
to
your
do that.
thing.
But
Because
yeah, but yeah,
I know a few years ago we had Drew Bledsoe come he's got a winery in
yeah.
the state of Washington. So there's definitely that opportunity to do that. So no,
Actually, I actually talked to Drew about the whiskey. He's actually tried the whiskey, so
yeah,
I'm friends with Drew. Yeah.
he's he what would impress me about him was he really knew his stuff. Like he knows his grapes. He knows his
Hmm.
he really seemed to be very well educated on how wine is made and all that sort of thing.
Yeah. Well, I'll
So
tell you what, don't get into the liquor business without being passionate about it. If you're doing it just to for fly by night, just to see if you can get something good to fly, hit against the wall and maybe sell it, don't do it. You got to be passionate about what you're doing because it is a hard business. And if you're not passionate about it, you're gonna have a shitty product.
well, look, now Jack just corrected me. It's the entertainment committee at our club that you'll appreciate the club. I'll tell you about it down the road. Union League Club in New York. But anyways, Mike was just saying it's about a pro. That Warren Zevon song is about a pro hockey player whose only job it is to fight for 20 seasons. He never scored a goal, and he sent the YouTube thing. So we'll have to check that out.
A long career. It's a long
Yeah,
career. It's a long career knowing that you're going and your main purpose is to fight. Um, I remember Stu Grimson, who I
yeah,
played with in Chicago. He was one of the toughest guys going.
yeah.
Um, he hated fighting. He's a born again, very, very religious, one of the nicest men you've ever met, very family oriented. And he literally knew his job was to fight. And he wanted to play in the National Hockey League so bad he would do whatever it took. But when we were playing St. Louis or playing Detroit or playing Minnesota, he wouldn't sleep the night before because he knew that he was going to have 2 or 3 bouts that day, protecting me, protecting Steve Larmer, protecting, Chelly. And, I remember there was one game where I got hit really hard and Stu's sitting on the bench. And as soon as I got hit really hard,
Yeah.
Stu put his head down, kind of like, oh no. And sure enough, down the bench comes Keenan, walks right up to him,
Oh no.
puts his hand on Stu
Oh
Grimson's
no.
shoulder and say, Stu, let's go. And Stu's like, okay. And Stu jumps over the boards and goes up to the player and is like, hey, we're, you and I have to go. You and I have to fight. The guy's like, I'm not fighting you. And Stu goes, I'm sorry, but you have to. I'm sorry. He goes, but you have to. So anyway, the puck drops. Stu grabs him, gives him a little bit of throttling. Then he go to the bench, right? And Stu yells down the bench, down the penalty box. He goes, hey, you okay? Are you okay? Like, I'm real sorry about that, man, but you're okay. Nothing, it's because he's like, he felt so bad if he hit this guy in the head so hard or hurt him. He really didn't want to hurt anybody. So it
Well,
was,
what's and
that's a long career.
What percentage of the fights do you believe that occur are two guys doing it just because versus two guys that just want to kick the crap out of each other? I mean, it's like half or something,
It's probably 95% are because it's their anger because of what happens in game. You're not going to get many staged or planned fights. You might have a couple guys who are fighters, then they're just looking for that time to get on the ice, whether they talk about it before the game. Hey, we're going to go tonight. All right. Whether that's their way of that's their contribution to the energy of the team. Right. And obviously it's used at certain times, but I wouldn't say any of them are really set up and staged. They come from certain things that happen in the game or when something needs to be protected, or there needs to be some sort of momentum change, but never just, hey, let's set up a fight and we'll do this and we'll do that, and then no, never like that.
Although last year there was that it was totally staged. Rangers Devils, the opening puck drop and all five.
Well, that wasn't staged. That came from hatred.
Yeah,
that came from the last game of all the things so that. So, I mean, that's when you have a rivalry like that.
Yeah,
it's expectations. They didn't sit there and say, they didn't call each other and say, hey, I got you. All right, I have you. So make sure I team up with you and I team up with you. No, it was let's see who's starting, and we're putting the next team on that started, and then that's how we're starting the game. So yeah.
What's funny though is that I think that one of the coaches, if not both, didn't realize the rule was something like when you have more than two fighting, then the rest of the guys get booted out of the game. So both teams were playing short by 3 or 4 guys.
Yeah, I think they each lost three players each.
Yeah. Anyways,
I still loved it. I thought it was great.
It was entertaining for sure. Now, do you try to get to games often or not really, or what's your?
I go to a few games. Here and there. I've been to a couple of Kings games I enjoy. I've gone to some Duck games with Teemu Selanne. I go to Hawks games quite often because I bring clients to the Hawks. But not too. I don't go a lot, but I will go. I'll probably go to a dozen games a year.
But when you go, are you mostly? I mean, are you actually watching it, or are you kind of more the schmoozing sort of?
Oh no, I love the game. Yeah. I love to watch. Yep. Good. And usually I'm bringing clients or bringing friends, so I'm literally talking about the game and showing people what I see, right? Yeah. And kind of the perspective that I have watching the game, and I enjoy watching the Bedards and McDavids and the Patrick Kanes and stuff like that. So I get brought out of my seat just like everybody else because the game is the best game in the world. So. And being in the building is obviously a lot more exciting than watching it on television. It is a spectator sport at its finest. For sure. Now,
is there any prayer that you would ever consider coaching down the road, or?
No. I have zero patience for the mentality of this generation. No way.
I'm smiling because I understand. That's great. Well, look, real quick, last thing, before we wrap up, just a couple quick last questions. One of them is this: if you had a chance tonight, to have dinner with 3 people, alive or dead, who would they be?
Mhm. That's always the thing. It's like, eating dinner, playing golf, things like that. I always say guys like Ronald Reagan, right? Because I was a big fan of his. I always put Clint Eastwood into that
Oh, that's
mentality.
cool. Yeah.
Yeah, that's it was, after that, it'd be kind of hard. Um, I'm a big historian. I love history, right?
Yeah.
So there's so many
Yeah.
people throughout history that, whether it's Martin Luther King or, you just go back. There's so many people that have changed the world by the people that they are, right? So, and those are the people, the leaders, right? That's where I would want to learn from, how they work and how they think.
I mean, when I ask it, I always think, what about like Genghis Khan? Like have a beer with that guy, or Napoleon, or whatever.
Gandhi.
Yeah, yeah.
Pope.
Well, I don't know if he.
Yeah, I
Well,
mean, there's
how
so
much?
many,
I guess he didn't
you
want.
know, you know, JFK. I mean, you just can go back and keep going back. It's
Well, I was wondering, sitting down with Jesus and saying, look, have you ever thought about hitting a baseball or whatever? I don't know. But sorry, I'm just kidding.
No.
Whatever. Anyway.
Yeah, it's that's always an interesting, and you can never be wrong, but it's always who has the best idea, who has the best, crew, right? It's always that conversation. It's good though.
That's awesome. Well, listen, I'm going to let you roll, but before I do, I want to make sure that you've got just a couple minutes to hang out and just say hello to a couple people that came late here. And but I'm thrilled. Congratulations again on not just a fantastic career, but getting into the Hall.
Thanks.
That's
Well, thanks for
amazing.
everybody for joining. It's
Yeah.
that chat line looks awesome. Bud, I love
Yeah.
you. Be good. We'll see you soon. Again, this is a lot of fun. Thanks for doing this, Mark.
Yeah,
And
of course.
let's do it again sometime soon. Thank you for everybody for joining.
Thanks, Jeremy. Appreciate it.
All right, guys.